Welcome to the Warband, a World of Warcraft podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Swaglock, and with me today, special guest on our podcast, a good friend of mine, Chicken. What's up, Chicken?
I don't think I'm that special, to be honest. I think I'm a mediocre guest at best.
I don't know, man, dude. I feel like you've been a pretty good guest because you were ever since you guested on episode 1, we have brought you back 39 times, I think, to this podcast.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Originally I wasn't even supposed to be on the podcast.
No, dude, it was supposed to be me and I think Growl. I think it was supposed to be Growl and I,
actually.
and then he wasn't able to make it for the first episode, and so I asked if you could fill in, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I think I don't know. I think the success of this podcast is probably just as good as if you would have. I can't even say that. Never mind.
Nah, it's better, bro. We got the chemistry, bro. It's science. It's science. Dude.
That's true.
It's science.
Yeah, we might not have like thousands of followers on other platforms, but we have like togetherness.
We just have it. We have that thing, that unnameable characteristic that everybody wants. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about today, though. We're not here to talk about friendship. This isn't the Friend Band, a friend podcast. No, this is the Warband, a World of Warcraft podcast. We're here to talk about World of Warcraft.
Wow.
Chicken, what have you been up to this week, man? And wow.
Yeah, so last week I was talking about, hey, do I really want to push for KSL? I think I have made the decision that I will not push for KSL because I'm just like, it's just too much work. I'm just not. I just don't have the time. Big life change coming up. So I was like, I'm just not going to do it. So I decided that I was going to jump into, I think, what is the hardest content in World of Warcraft. Absolutely hardest content.
What's that?
Delves.
Delves? Dude, delves are they're definitely difficult. They're definitely
No, okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
Hear me out.
I'm hearing you out.
I've been trying to do the stupid tier 2 version of the dumb boss thingy.
Oh, those challenges are fun.
Dude, the tier 2 one is so hard, bro.
Oh, they are. They're definitely difficult. I think this one might be a little bit easier than the last one. But even still, it's such a challenge.
I think this one's harder.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
I just can't. Well, at first I didn't realize you had to kick the little bombs into the ads, and I was just letting the ads just kind of stack up, and then I was obviously just getting wrecked. But yeah, I've been trying to do it for a hot minute now. I've had probably 10 attempts. I've gotten halfway. I don't know. I might need a couple more item levels, maybe.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, nice thing though, turbo boosted, bro. We're turbo boosted now, so you can get that eye level.
I know,
pretty easily.
But I didn't even do a 10 this week.
Really?
No.
What are you doing? What's wrong with you?
I don't know, dude. I haven't played a lot of WoW this week, to be honest. I've been trying to grind some Fortnite because the Star Wars season of Fortnite is about to end, and I was like, I kind of want to finish that.
You should have told me. I would have done that. I would have joined you. However, I have done a little bit of WoW. I'm kind of in this weird spot right now where, again, the closer we get to the wedding, the busier everything becomes. My schedule's getting crazy. It's hard to find a free time anywhere, and so we're talking about KSL. I really want to push KSL. I'm not giving up on KSL yet. Keystone Legend. We did have somebody ask the other day, what do you mean? You say KSL, KSM, KSH a lot. There are just achievements that you can get when you're doing M plus content, so Mythic plus content. When you get 3K rating, that's Keystone Legend. We call it KSL. I'm still working towards it. It's kind of been on pause the last 2 weeks, though, because I just haven't had a good chunk of time to sit down and work on it. It's one of those things I'm pushing into content that's a lot harder for me. And so just going in and just doing a one-off 12 here and there doesn't really do the trick because I really need to get into it. I need to be thinking about it. And,
that makes sense.
I got to figure that out. A little bit. So, I don't know. I'm kind of on pause. And so what I've been doing right now is I've just been kind of playing some alts. I've been playing my healer a bit, my shaman, which has been a lot of fun. Yeah, I've really been enjoying it. It was funny because I really didn't have any keys done on my shaman. I had like a handful of like 2s and maybe a 4. And I was like, I'll just push keys and see what happens. End up like pushing my key up to a 7. Went to go put the 7 in, and then as I went to go run the dungeon, right as I was about to start, literally putting my key in the thing, waiting for the countdown to the end, someone slammed their 9 instead, and not like a friend. It wasn't like, oh hey look, my friend is goofing around, they're carrying me through it. It was a pug group, dude. It was literally just a random pug group. I think I had one person in me. I think I had I think we had Sweet Dude tanking or something. And some random dude, bro, just like slams his key that's 2 eye levels higher than mine, or not 2 eye levels, 2 levels higher than mine, into the fountain. I'm like, what is going on? Because I knew right away, I'm like, I didn't hit the button. This isn't my key. And I went and checked to see what level the key was. If it was the same level or lower, absolutely 100%, I would have just walked out of that dungeon. Absolutely. But it was a 9, and I was kind of like, you know what? Let me just see what I can do. And I actually held up fine. We didn't time it, but we didn't time it due to, like, I think other reasons. My healing, while not perfect, was actually a lot better than I thought it was. Because I was thinking, I'm like, I'm probably geared to do like 4s, 5s, maybe do some 6s, was kind of what I was thinking. And so there I am, like, at this point, the best key I've done is like a 5, and now I'm sitting in a 9. I'm like, well, let's give it a shot. And I kept up. Pretty good. We barely didn't time the key.
Oh, dang. Yeah, that's pretty good, dude.
So I was feeling pretty proud. Yeah, I was feeling pretty proud of myself. Kind of annoyed, though. Kind of annoyed somebody would do that, you know, because the group was good, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. It was one of the DPS, too, so maybe he didn't want to wait for his key, and he just wanted to, like, find a group that looked decent enough for him to just run his key. But then what was even the point? Because his key got bricked anyway. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's such a weird thing to do. Like, I can't, like, maybe if you like accidentally do it. Like, I remember, I think there was one time that
I've accidentally put mine in a couple times. I'll apologize, but okay, let's reset. This is my key.
Yeah. And I remember you doing that one time that when we ran a key and yours was like significantly higher than mine. And I was like, oh, swag, you nerd. Why'd you do that? But it was like, that one was just kind of like an accident. This is kind of just like a random pug group. And that's so weird. That's like, oh man, that's
right. And the fact that he didn't say anything, I'm like, what? What? And by the way, he was also the first one to leave. As soon as the run was over, he was just gone, like just gone. I'm like, okay.
I mean, it makes sense.
I don't know, man. It was just weird. There are things that happen sometimes that I'm like, yo, what? Who raised you? Like, what? Why do you think this is an okay thing to do? What is that? And again, we still ran it, and so you could be listening and be like, well, you know, if you ran the key anyways, and was it really that big of a problem? I think it was just rude. I think it was rude to do. And if it was any other situation, I wouldn't have done it. But I was literally just kind of like, you know what? I was streaming anyways. I was like, let's just see what happens. Let's just see. I wasn't like really rushing towards something. I wasn't trying to achieve anything. I was just like, you know what? We're here. This is an alt that I'm kind of just goofing on. So but it was just odd. It was an odd experience. I haven't raided this week, which is kind of sad. I missed that. Yeah, I was just busy. We had a wedding this weekend we had to attend. And so that kind of took up some time and just getting things ready. I don't know, man. It just kind of stinks because I've been itching. To play WoW. This healer has been really fun. Jumping on in my spare time. I want to play my DK, really push KSL. I'm kind of thinking about working on a second tank, right? Kind of building that up a little bit.
Oh man!
Well, because our guild does the weekly key event, and so I've kind of been having fun bringing my alts to the weekly key event to like run different keys and try different things.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, dude. Today was fun. We had 2 guys in our group for weekly keys because we were doing 2 to 4 keys, right? Like baby keys, basically. We were doing baby keys. But the 2 of the guys in the group had never done any M+ dungeons ever before in their life.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, one guy has done a handful, but I don't think he still felt super confident in like knowing them very well.
Yeah.
And then our healer Sneaky was very familiar with them. He I think he has KSL at this point.
Gotcha.
And so, or at least he has all his 12s done. And so he was helping out. So it was fun, like running through and just like helping teach. That's something I actually do enjoy a lot. Is like I love getting people like into content and like trying it out, because I do think a lot of people want to try some of these things out, right? Like I'll talk to guys who just like all they do is like solo content and delves and some LFR, and I'll talk to them and they're like, I just don't know, like I don't want to upset anybody, I don't want to do something wrong, like it's just easier not to do it. And I'm like, well, then if you want to try it, like we can try it out, like easy, right? Like I can teach you, I can explain mechanics as we're going through. I think I think that's the benefit of just finding a healthy guild, especially a guild, and this is important. I think WoW players miss this sometimes. Find the guild that fits you, right? A lot of times I think we just find the first guild. It's like, oh, this is the first guild, and now I'm like loyal to this guild. But find the guild that fits you. Find the guild that, like, for the season of gameplay that you're in, if you're like, oh, you know what? I do want to try and get into some content. There's things I see. I want to try raiding. I want to try doing dungeons. I just don't want to get people upset with me. Okay, well then find a guild that is like actively putting those groups together. Find a guild that's like organizing things, or has players that want to support new players and learning and whatnot. You know, all those things. WoW at its core is such a social game, and we can never forget that. I think the day that we stop treating WoW as a social game, we lose all that basically makes WoW fun, right? Like M+ is fun, but M+ is fun when you're successful and not being yelled at and not being trash talked the whole time, right? So that usually occurs when you're running with people that you're familiar enough with, right? That you can talk to, that you get to learn how they play, that you get to build off of each other. I don't know. WoW's a very social game. I don't know why we're going this direction conversationally. It was on my mind because I was just helping people out learning the game who previously maybe have been a little too nervous to just try it on their own.
I don't know. Maybe WoW is never meant to be a social game.
Maybe it was only ever meant to be solo.
Solo, dude, that's the way to play it.
I don't know, man. I couldn't, man. I love the community, bro. I love all the stuff that goes on. I love hanging out at the inn in Goldshire, and like, I'm kidding. I don't do that.
Yeah, because that'd be kind of sus.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a little sus. Anyways, yeah. So we got a lot going on actually this week. But before we do that, why don't we talk about what's going on with the podcast? If you are not aware, we recently launched our Patreon, and I think it's pretty successful so far. What do you think?
Yeah, so we have a new Patreon for anybody who is interested in supporting us. We love making the Warband. We love doing this podcast. And we want to be able to do more. We want to be able to bring video episodes out eventually. We want to be able to create more content and have reasons to do stuff. But it's kind of hard sometimes to justify it when some of those things maybe cost us. Or even right now, we already pay monthly just to host the podcast, right? And so any support we can get is absolutely exceptional, and we really appreciate it. And so we have a Patreon account now with 3 tiers on it. One tier is just purely a simple $2 support tier, but we also have tiers that offer content. And we have a tier even for, and it sounds kind of crazy, but specifically for like Guildmaster or community leaders that would like to basically pay for ad space on podcast episodes for that month, rather than maybe going through companies or organizations doing sponsorships basically through, I don't know, for guilds and WoW communities. And so really that kind of exists, I think. And you're probably like, is that even valuable? Is that worth it? Ultimately, it's up to you if that's how valuable that is. But I think part of it, too, is, it's just a great way, I think, to support the content we're creating here. And so we want to thank you all. We're excited about our Patreon. So when you're done with this episode of the podcast, feel free to go check it out. And also be aware, every week we'll be posting bonus content on our Patreon account as well. Oftentimes that will be content that is recorded immediately after we record the podcast. So it's kind of bonus podcast content. Sometimes that we won't be able to fit that in right away. And so we'll record that later and upload that at a later time. But every week you get a bonus episode of some kind that you get to listen to, which is awesome.
Yeah. And, I think we're going to be doing some pretty cool stuff on that. I got some cool games that we might play. WoW-themed games, actually.
Ooh, sounds good.
That's going to be some pretty cool stuff. I think you'll like it. You personally, Swag, you'll love it, but I think the other people will like it too.
It scares me a little bit, but we'll see what happens.
No, dude, you'll love it. 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 Anyways, have you been keeping up with the WoW news for this week?
I have had an eye on it. I've been watching some of it, some of the more controversial things, some of the things that have been going on, but there is some cool stuff happening. I did see
controversial things.
Oh yeah. Well, there's only one controversial thing. I don't know if we talked about it or not. I know I've talked about it recently. I just don't remember if it was on the podcast. Did we talk about what's going on with hardcore WoW?
Oh, maybe that's what it is. But I vaguely remember something. Excuse me, sorry. I vaguely remember seeing something that was happening in WoW, like on like Tuesday. And I'm like, why does this stuff always come out like the day or two after we've released a podcast? And then like we have to wait like a full week to talk about it.
A lot of times stuff does happen on Tuesdays. It is our curse.
I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was what you're about to tell me about this hardcore stuff. Probably not though. But I feel like there was something on like Wowhead News that was like, oh, this is happening. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is being so cool to talk about on the podcast. But I guess we have to wait a week.
Well, this probably isn't that. But anyways, so regarding classic WoW, hardcore WoW, they are ramping down the team for Season of Discovery. So basically, we can assume at this point Season of Discovery is on its way out. They're even encouraging players to leave Season of Discovery by saying, hey, if you complete the current raid in Season of Discovery, you'll automatically unlock a level 85 character, I believe, in Mists of Pandaria. So it's kind of like, hey, listen.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's basically a way to say, hey, you pour time into this version of Classic. However, it's kind of coming to an end. Why don't you go over here now? Yeah. They're ramping that down. It does imply, they have kind of hinted, maybe even said directly, I don't quite remember, that they want to work on other projects. So we're not really sure what that means. Does it just mean that they want to push that team towards more classic releases? Do they want to use that team for something else? Is that team going to work on a new type of altered classic content? People have talked about Classic Plus before. I don't know if Classic Plus will ever be a thing. It does seem weird to have two simultaneous versions of WoW with brand new content coming out. That seems counterproductive, but who knows? Classic Plus being like, they'll be like, hey, you know, it's Classic, but we are adding new content to it that still feels like Classic.
Like content in like raiding, like raids,
zones, etc. Right? They would just build it out. I don't know if that's the route though Blizzard would take. But again, Blizzard also said they would never do Classic to begin with. So maybe we'll see it. Maybe we won't. All that to say though, Season of Discovery is ramping down. Something is coming. We don't know what. But that's not the juicy news that I heard this past week. The juicy news. Okay, so y'all remember OnlyFans, that guild in hardcore WoW of content creators?
Yeah.
I remember how Tyler One, a non-WoW player, built tons of momentum in his first playthrough of WoW in hardcore, building his character up, making it absolutely epic, making it absolutely awesome. And then during a raid, during a bad pull, they tried to still get the boss down. And while he asked everybody, as raid leader and guild master, asked everybody to stay and continue the fight, they all ran out of the room and he died. Right? Here's the thing, though.
I like vaguely remember that.
Here's the thing, though. Blizzard has said that they are bringing him back for one day to do the new raid.
Oh, dang.
They're reviving his character for one day. One day reviving his character. And people are mixed, very mixed on their impressions. I can say for sure that there's a good group of people that are very angry about this, whining pretty hard in the comment sections of X, the Everything app, and Wowhead posts, and PC Gamer articles, and wherever else this is announced. But essentially, they're crying because the idea of hardcore is once your character is dead, and you have to restart. And so Blizzard's ruining the game. They're going back on their own rules. They're disregarding the fundamental of hardcore WoW and the purpose for its existence, and they're ruining all the fun. And here's the thing for me. This is very clearly a PR stunt to promote hardcore WoW.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like 100%. It's a PR stunt to promote hardcore WoW. Clearly, Blizzard is not offering revivals to anybody, right? They're just going like, hey, man, this content creator who had a massive audience and built tons of momentum as a WoW player, like literally like brought so many eyes to classic WoW.
Yeah.
We're bringing him back for a day as a PR stunt to bring attention to the new raid being here, to kind of hype people up, to get people's eyes back onto classic content.
I mean, makes sense to me.
Here's my take. It literally affects nobody.
No, it doesn't.
It affects literally nobody. This changes nothing. This changes absolutely nothing at all. The only thing it does do is, again, bring attention to the game you love. So every time I hear people complain, like, this is ruining hardcore, I'm like, you're ruining hardcore. Shut up. And I mean it, because, listen, how can you be like, I like hardcore, this is the game mode I like, and then turn around and be like, Blizzard, don't promote it, don't tell people about hardcore, don't make it popular. I don't want people to play it. This is my game and my game only, and I want to be the only person alive on the hardcore server. And I'm just gonna sit here and pull one slime at a time, because I'm not gonna risk dying, but I don't want anybody else to be on the server. All these slimes are my slimes. These are my slimes. Nobody can touch my slimes.
I mean, oh my gosh.
Don't touch my slimes. Chicken, get off my slimes.
Dude, get out of here. Dude, I don't know, man. Wow. The WoW community is sometimes the best and the worst at the same time. I feel like they just have to almost have something to complain about.
Dude, they doomsday. They doomsday so freaking hard. Did you see the kind of not speech, but the session, I guess I could say, that Ian gave regarding like World of Warcraft and balancing and game design?
No. When did this happen?
So he was speaking at like a games conference type thing, right? And explaining game mechanics, game design, how their team thinks through different types of things, right? And so they pulled up balance of the game like 10 years ago, if even, right? And then they pulled up balance of the game now and how balanced characters are. And if you look at the balancing, it's insane. It is actually crazy how balanced the game is right now. Like, actually, how bonkers balanced World of Warcraft is. But I would say...
That's a little surprising.
But I would say if you talked to players back then, 10 years ago, where it was way less balanced, you would think it was more balanced. Like, they talk about it. They'd be like, yeah, it's not perfect, but whatever. But then nowadays, that like 0.5% that one person is better than another, that 2% maybe 2%, right? Like,
yeah,
they just go crazy. And I wonder sometimes, like, if WoW players like really actually ever take time to think, and which again is ironic, because WoW players are also crazy good at just thinking through every detail of like mechanics and data and all that stuff. But then I think there's a lot of WoW players who just simply look at the final article, just look at the graph, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they get angry because they looked at the graph. And it's really, really fascinating when you look at what Ian was talking about and all the different things that are going on. And I had to ask myself, I'm like, is this a result of like M+, right? Like, having infinitely scaling content. When you have infinitely scaling content, game balance is impossible. It's not obtainable.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, that brings up a good point, and kind of like we were talking about last week of, I think, or maybe it was on the bonus content.
Yeah.
No, I think it was. I think it was a question someone talked about. Oh my goodness, why can't I think of the words? Time gating.
Yeah.
And just kind of how that time gating kind of rolls out in WoW. But I mean, when you think of infinite scaling content, which I think is very unique to WoW and MMOs in general, I mean, you don't really think of infinite scaling content in other games for the most part. And kind of how that kind of plays together. And I think it's kind of goes back to something that I said last week of how WoW is kind of like a... Well, I don't think I said this. I kind of hinted at it because I was like, WoW's kind of like a lifestyle. I think WoW is almost more of like a living organism. I mean, it's always changing. It's adapting. It's going through, life changes, going through, everything under the sun. I mean, it's... honestly, I feel like this game changes every week. Like, it wouldn't surprise me.
That's true.
I mean, it does. Well, technically, it does change every week, right? But yeah, it's hard to. WoW people are hard to gauge because it's almost like they just need something to complain about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know people in general are kind of like, sometimes people just like to complain about something, right? Like, you
Yeah.
think of like your grandmother, she's always complaining about something, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's just who she is, right? I feel like WoW people are just like, they gotta find something to complain about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And I think it's tough because I feel like though, and how I am, because I know I'm this way. If you've listened to the podcast for any amount of time, you know I'm this way. When I see something, I stop and I go, why does this thing exist? Which means oftentimes I give takes on here. I give a lot of takes on here that I don't think people like, because I'm like, well, no, I think Blizzard might be right. Like, I think this might be why they're doing this thing, right? And you try to explain it, right? Like, I think time gating can be good often. Now, if it's done wrong, it's bad, but good time gating can be done well because it allows you to enjoy the game longer. It allows you to feel paced. It allows you to feel less burnt out from the game, right? It allows you to still feel like there's meaningful progression as the game continues, and you're not just done. Some people are like, well, I just want to pour it all in at once. Well, guess what? If you pour it all in at once, and Timmy over there needs to pace a little bit more because he has a real job, right? Has an actual job. Well, guess what?
As a family.
Then all of a sudden, little Timmy over there is going to give up because just like I did in my remix, because he's going to feel like there's no point. There's no point. You're never catching up. So I don't know where I'm going with that. But anyways, the interview was just very fascinating because I don't think WoW players are always very capable of stopping and going, why is this the way it is? Why did Blizzard design it this way, right? And infinitely, right? Like, and when you look at balance is such a fascinating thing because if I'm running a +10 key, dude, I don't care what I'm inviting. I don't care.
You don't really.
Right, like that tank looks good, taking them. That healer looks good, taking them. Deeps.
I mean,
I need probably like lust, and I probably want to be res.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Right. But I'm not really.
You care a tiny bit, but you're not like as particular. You know what I mean?
I'm not really looking for like top specs, right? But then what happens?
Right?
Yeah. But then what happens when you have infinitely scaling content? When you have infinitely scaling content, at some point, you're going to need to juice every little bit of advantage you can get. Every tiny advantage you can get, which then means, hey, you got to change your class. Like, that's the answer. The answer isn't for them to fix your class. The answer is for you to change your class. And you can be like, well, Swag, I love playing this class. This is the class I love to play. Awesome. Play that class. Maybe that class just... But you're doing infinitely scaling content. Choose one or the other, right? Like, you have to choose. Do you want to, like, keep pushing higher? Are you content where you're at? If you're, maybe you're like, hey, you know what? I love playing this class. I just want to keep playing this class. This is as high as I can push. Awesome. Great. If you're like, no, I need to push as high as possible. Well, the only way to push as high as possible is to play the spec that does 0.5% more damage, right? Like, at some point, or the spec that just happens to have better utility for that season. That just happens. There's some things I think the utility thing can probably be tweaked a little bit, right? Going from my blood DK, where like I see stuff happening, I'm like, oh, what's happening? Blinding Sleet, right? To like my shaman, where I'm like constantly stunning and stopping everything. Dude, all my shaman, man, the number of times I just keep telling tanks to pull more because I know I can interrupt most things is pretty nice. It's pretty nice. I'm digressing though. So Ian did this thing in the session where he talked about Death Knights. And he was talking about how Unholy Death Knight was doing a lot better than Frost DK. And so and all the articles and stuff are written on Unholy, how to play Unholy, because all the best DK players, all the best melee, like all the best players are playing DK, Unholy DK. And so they buffed Frost DK to be more in line with Unholy DK. Now, they might have buffed it just better than Unholy DK. I think they did. I think he had said they had buffed it a little bit better. But what occurred, though, is all those best players then flipped to Frost DK and started playing Frost DK instead. And then what happened is Unholy's numbers on the charts that like Raider.io tracks or whoever tracks, Unholy's numbers were tanking. Like their damage output was going down. But Blizzard never made a tweak to Unholy damage output. They only buffed Frost damage output. And what happened was the charts were now reflecting the fact that the best players had all switched to Frost DK. And so what do the numbers even mean, right? Like, I don't know, man. Balance is such a funny thing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because I did notice that. I was looking. I typically check out those like logs, if you
Yeah.
will, um, on we have like a WoW news article like page tab
Mm-hmm.
on the guild Discord, and typically every time though one for raid comes through for that week, I check it, and I did notice I was like, oh wow, Frost is kind of taking over Unholy, which is kind of surprisingly, and I mean that makes sense. I mean, there's not really a you know a clear cut like, hey, this is one spec is better than the other, but those players playing those specs obviously know how to, I don't want to say that they're better than us, but clearly they
Yeah.
are because they're doing higher level content than we are. So
Absolutely.
when they jump into those specs, obviously we're going to see a dip. That's kind of a neat way to look at it because I don't think I would have ever put those two and two together unless you would have told me that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would have been like, oh, Frost is outperforming Unholy. That just means they buffed Frost like a lot, and they probably nerfed Unholy, right?
Yeah.
I would have. That's exactly what I would have thought if I would have just looked at that on
Mm-hmm.
face value, right? Not, oh hey, they just buffed Frost a little bit and kind of kept it in tune with Unholy, and now people are like, oh, Frost is good too. Let's play that.
Yeah, right. And I'll gamble there's probably things about Frost maybe those players found that Blizzard hadn't been aware of was possible, right? So they're now pushing it beyond what
Yeah.
Blizzard thought they were even tuning it to. Yeah, there's so many details, but again, though, right? Players are gonna constantly complain, and they're gonna look at those graphs, and they're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, my favorite spec does 0.5% less damage than this other spec, and that's not why I'm being invited to groups, and my life is terrible." And Blizzard needs to fix this, and everything's horrible, and the world sucks. And it's like, okay, well, first of all, those numbers are hard to tell. Second of all, how do you do people actually expect perfect balance in this game?
It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest.
And
It really wouldn't surprise me.
yeah, and it's interesting because the type of content you and I play, the game feels perfectly balanced. Like when you and I
Yeah,
are
it
doing
does.
content, like I don't think about it, man. I don't think about it at all.
Hardly ever.
Pushing for AOTC, don't think about it. Pushing for
No.
Keystone Master, don't think about it. Keystone here, don't think about it.
No.
Maybe, yeah,
No.
I'll say I'm starting to think about it. Maybe pushing towards
Yeah.
KSL a little bit. It's definitely a consideration, but also I'm just happy to get a group. So
Yeah,
I take what I can have, right? I take what I can have. And especially at our level, right? Like at our level, player skill just goes so much further than spec. Like so much further than the actual spec you're playing.
Yeah.
I would say the spec really starts to matter more when you're hitting that like peak of player skill and you're parsing those like 99s for your spec. And then it's all of a sudden it's like, okay, like we're all top of the line players. We're all going to do insane, like absolutely maximizing these specs. Now, which one, if we maximize them, can we get the most from, right? Like, but that's not 99.9% of World of Warcraft players.
No, it's not. It's not even close, probably.
No. So, this is such a random rant. I don't even remember how we got to this rant. Oh, all I have to say, I don't think WoW players will ever be happy. I think that's what I was trying to say. I think no matter what change is made, WoW players get. You know what? Actually, I'm curious. Fun. We're gonna do a fun little game. If you listen to the podcast and you're on our Discord, there's a link in the description. If you're listening, comment, or you can comment on the platform that you're listening on. I know I check comments on Spotify occasionally, so that's a good one. But leave a comment for us anywhere you want, and let us know: was there ever a change to World of Warcraft that you were personally kind of excited about, or even just thought was a good change, and everyone else was just like angry about it? Like people were like doomsdaying over this change. I want to know.
I can't personally. I don't think I can think of anything that I came. Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that's like, oh, this is a good thing. I mean, I might have been on the reverse of that, but
probably. I've
definitely been on the reverse of that. I mean, it's not that WoW is not a good game. I feel like there's just things that happen that that I'm just like, you know, why are we doing that? Like, what's the point of doing that? And it almost feels like, you know, the time and money that you put into this game almost makes it seem like you're invested into it. Obviously, we're invested into it, right? At this
Time
point, we're
investment.
easily
Yeah.
invested to it, right? Like you almost feel like you own like a share of WoW, right? Like
Yeah.
if WoW was a stock, air quotes, and you know you want to see it go up, you don't want to see it go down, right?
Yeah.
So like you obviously see this stuff, but I mean, at the end of the day, does it really matter? I mean, if you enjoy playing the game, play the game, right? Who cares?
Play the game.
But this was a long-winded rant about a big dude named Tyler One, whose buff is, well, he's pretty buff. Anyways, hey, let's talk about what's going on this week. I mean, we got a lot of stuff coming out this week. We have the new Dastardly Duos, which will start on June 3rd. So if you're not familiar with what Dastardly Duos is, are you familiar with it?
Yes, actually, I have been looking into a little bit. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks kind of neat. We've talked about this a couple of times. The kind of, you know, I want to say like long-winded 0.5 patch that they have where it's kind of just like one event after another. It's almost like mini events. I feel like they definitely learned their lesson in season 1. They learned their lesson that they can't just like launch like a huge event and it take precedence and people be like happy with it for multiple weeks, multiple months.
Yeah.
And yeah, the last patch's 0.5 was a flop, in my opinion. It was good for like 3 weeks, and then it was like a flop. Maybe that might even be overkill, like 2 weeks.
Hot take from Swag, by the way. Hot take. I think, and you know, maybe this is one of those things based upon the question asked a second ago. I thought from the very start, the way that they're putting out this 0.5 patch with the time gaming, I actually thought it was awesome. And everybody was like, oh, this 0.5 patch sucks because there's no content in it. I was like, no, there's content. It's just not all coming out on day one. But man, you know how nice it is when like every couple weeks, it feels like every couple weeks, it's like, oh, hey, here's something more. You're bored. Here's like another thing to do. Oh, here's one more thing to log in for, right?
Yeah, right.
And it's generally all pretty good.
Yeah, and like even on that end, it's not like it's like super things that were like, oh, like what was it called? Horrific visions. It's like, oh, that's like what we log in to play the game. But it's like, hey, it's kind of cool to do like a couple times, you know. That's like a cool thing to do this week. And now, you know, this week we got something new, right? Maybe next week we'll still be doing, you know, Dastardly Duos, and then hey, maybe there's something else that they're coming out with. I think it's generally better than last patches or last season's 0.5 patch, because last season's 0.5 patch was just like an overflow of content, and it didn't really, like, to me, we didn't even do the raid. We didn't even do Blackrock, did we? I think maybe the guild attempted it a couple of times. I don't think I was ever involved. I think I might have done LFR like twice. But I was like, it's not for me. Like, I mean, I think I can handle one raid at a time. I don't think I can do more than one raid at a time. There's too much other things going on. You know what I mean?
I think it was at the wrong time, dude. They hit too soon. Soon, and the rewards sucked. The loot in that dungeon was not great. It was not great. I think, or not dungeon, that raid. I think if they had brought it out later, if they waited, dude, even just another month, even just one more month, if not 2 months, I would have waited maybe a month and a half. Maybe. We'll see. What you want is you want to hit it when like most people who are going to get like AOTC have AOTC, right? That's probably the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And then maybe do something that feels like what Turbo Boosted feels like right now, where like doing that raid offers something nice, like a nice extra bump, in power. I don't know. Maybe that raid has a 2-piece tier set, right?
Yeah.
And it's built. It's
that'd be kind of cool.
Feet and cape. I don't know, something stupid, right? Like something
feet and cape,
feet and wrists. It's feet and wrists. That's what it'll be. Feet and wrists, and it's your 2-piece.
Oh, true.
Extra bonus set, and everybody could literally just have the same bonus. I don't even care, man. It'll be like every time you do damage or heal, you also do 500 fire damage, right? Like I don't know, it could be stupid.
Yeah, like something. Yeah,
it could be so dumb.
That would probably been okay.
But just to offer something, right? And maybe the tier pieces are myth track specifically, right? Maybe those 2 slots are myth track. Everything else in there is hero, right? All of a sudden, that becomes pretty valuable to do and pretty desirable to do. And then people will enjoy it because it wasn't bad. The actual content was not bad at all. It just was weirdly timed and not worthwhile to do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, to talk about
last wasn't there like season, no mastery gear? Sorry, wasn't there like no mastery gear in there at all?
Oh, I don't think there was.
So I think if you played like enhancement shaman that season, there was like no point in even going into that.
Oh no, there was like, I don't know. Well,
yeah. So again, the problem though is that will now forever go down as like a flop for Blizzard. They're like, we gave them 2 raids, we brought back an old raid, and they didn't even care.
Mm-hmm.
Now I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it come back for the 21st anniversary because it exists now. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. But again,
I think it's very possible, but time will tell, right? Anyways, Dastardly Duos. I think it's kind of hype. We'll be going back and fighting some old bosses in robot form, and you get kind of like cool little trinkets and not trinkets, toys and cosmetics each week for doing a quest. It's like little things like that. It takes like maybe like an hour. 1 day a week. It's like, oh, this is nice, right? It's like, this is cool. It makes me want to log in at least 1 time a week and just do it, right? Like that's the kind of world content that I enjoy. Like that I can just go in and do it for like an hour each week and just be like, oh, this is cool. Yeah. Like I don't want to be doing world content all the time. It's just not my thing, right?
Yeah.
So if I can just do it for like an hour or 2 a week, perfect. I love it. Right.
Yeah, and part of the question too is right, like, what's the kind of content that offers minimal reward, right? Like minimal reward.
Yeah.
So not like, hey, you can't just grind this out for 12 hours straight day 1, right? But like, hey, every week this offers you 2 hours of content weekly if you want to, right? And each week you can do basically you could do more than 2 hours, but the 2 hours is all that will reward you. And then you can just do 2 hours every week.
Chef's
and
kiss.
If you have a few of those things. Right, that could add up to like 6 hours of just time. That like, hey, here's reasons to log in. But also, the second question I have is like, and maybe this can't exist in WoW. Maybe what I'm mentioning just can't exist in WoW because WoW is so stuff driven, right? It's raiding or it's loot, whether gear or transmog, mounts, whatever. Right? WoW is a collector game, right? Which is partly why I love it. I love collecting things. But there are other games that I log into. And I play those games just because they're fun to play.
Yeah.
I don't get anything from it. I'll load in. You mentioned earlier. I'll load into Fortnite sometimes, and I'll play a couple rounds for no other reason than I just like playing Fortnite. And I will admit, M+ is like that for me. I do like playing M+. So to give credit, those things exist. I like playing M+. I'll go to raid nights with my guild when I absolutely don't need anything from that raid night. And it's not because I'm loyal to my guild and want to support. I mean, I do. I am loyal to my guild. I do want to support them. I love them. They're amazing. However, it's because I like raiding, and it's just fun content, and I like being with my friends when I do it. So I'm gonna go to raid nights even when I don't need anything.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But is there? And those things do all offer stuff. But like, I'm working towards Keystone Legend on my my Death Knight. But if I get Keystone Legend, I'm not just quitting. I'm not just like, okay, I got Keystone Legend. You'll see me next season. Nah, dude, I'm still gonna be loading in. If guildmates want to do dungeons, I'll hop on my DK and do dungeons with them. I'll probably play dungeons on my alts. I work on my shaman just because it's fun. It's just fun content. So are there things that WoW can make that would cause somebody to log in and play just because the thing itself is fun to do? Now that's hard. That's actually, I think, really hard to pull off. I know they tried really hard with the delves. That was a start. I don't know if I would love to know, are delves fun content, or is that just content that people feel like they can do and get loot without having to go into like toxic M+
Definitely the latter.
Right, because I know I log in because I'm like, dude, I'm itching to run some like dungeons. I'm itching to run M+. I want that adrenaline. I want my body to be like hyped up while I'm like panicking. right? Like I like that. It's fun. It's competitive. It's challenging. It gets me going, right? It gets my brain firing on all cylinders. But are there other things? And I'm hoping, the reason why I'm saying all this, I'm hoping this Dastardly Duos can be that. I'm hoping that offers some of that. I think, what was it called? The pirate game mode? You remember what that was called?
Plunderstorm?
Yeah, Plunderstorm. Plunderstorm often did that for me. Obviously, Plunderstorm had some great rewards and some great loots.
Yeah.
But, dude, there were times I'd be like, I'd be hanging out in Dornigal and I wouldn't know what to do. And I'm like, dude, I'm just going to play some Plunderstorm. I love that you can now queue up for Plunderstorm in the, actual main game. You don't have to, switch it over.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty
That was
hype.
peak. Great move, Blizzard. Great move. Because, again, though, Plunderstorm was one of those things where I'd be like, yeah, I could play a couple rounds of Plunderstorm. I'm down.
Yeah, you're
I'm
just
down.
like, yeah, right? In between dungeons, you're like, hey, let's just throw on a couple games real quick. I don't want to queue. Maybe I don't have time to do another dungeon.
Yep.
And I don't mind just leaving a Plunderstorm in mid game because who cares, right?
Yeah. By the way, I think
obviously.
Horrific Visions kind of feels like that. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun to do, right? I mean, it's kind of a chore a little bit in the sense of there is something I'm working towards, but it's kind of been fun learning it. And so I'm hoping, again, and these things can all just be temporary. I hope Horrific Visions becomes a more consistent thing. Maybe they update it and add new zones or something. But I hope maybe, hey, every year we get it once a year or something. Plunderstorm once a year. Dastardly Duos once a year. Whatever this new game mode that's coming out that I think is probably going to be a Dead by Daylight style game mode. What these are,
yeah,
right?
That's right.
Having these things pop in occasionally, I think it'd be really cool. And just reasons to log in and play something because it's fun. But some of them just can't live forever, right? Like M Plus can live forever because people are constantly working towards achievements in M Plus, so they're constantly doing M Plus.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat concept, and I hope they keep doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But so Dastardly Duos will be live Tuesday, June 3rd. So definitely look forward to that. Hey, one other, I think, thing that is kind of interesting that we learned this week that we'll talk about, and then maybe we'll do a couple key points of other things, and then maybe get into some listener questions. Did you see that they are working on this is such a weird one, the next season, season 3, patch 11.2, they're working on the 0.5 patch for that one.
Yeah, I heard that there's already encrypted versions found on the servers. So there's not much detail, but just simply that they're already working on the details for it. The coding is already going in.
Yeah, and there's a lot of speculation that that's going to be a big thing to look for on future add-ons and in-game add-ons, and also maybe even some player housing stuff. So that's kind of neat to think that they're already kind of making way to give people the opportunity to kind of start testing these new add-ons that Blizzard are developing themselves. And then maybe even getting into some player housing. Dude, I think, I'll just say this. I think the player housing, when they release that PTR, that might be the only PTR that I'm okay, I might check this out.
Dude, player housing is going to be hype.
I know. I feel dude,
player housing,
everyone's going to check it.
Player housing is one of those things they're putting in WoW that I think is a monumental shift in World of Warcraft. And that's only happened a handful of times, I think, in WoW. Only a handful of times. I think M Plus was one of those moments. I think player housing is on par. Player housing might even become a bigger monumental shift in World of Warcraft than M Plus was. I think M Plus.
Honestly, it might.
People are gonna not like what I'm about to say. I think M Plus extended the life of World of Warcraft by a lot. I think
it did.
Yeah, I think player housing is about to do the same. Player housing blows my mind. Players have begged for player housing forever, and I know a bunch of people are gonna be like, "Well, they're not letting me put my house wherever I want to put my house." Dude, trust me. What they're letting you do though is so much more powerful and intricate and detailed than anything we could have asked for before. And by the way, though, I think being able to put your house anywhere you want is personally aesthetically really cool. but actually a horrendous idea that does not actually lead to like a good game. I just don't think it leads to a good game.
It's pretty rough.
It leads to a cool personal solo experience, but not really a good social, communal, and gameplay experience. All that to say, though, I think player housing is going to be wild. I think we're going to see people get into WoW. I think player housing content on social media could blow up if done well and introduce a lot of people into World of Warcraft who maybe historically would have ignored World of Warcraft, but are now going, ooh, I want to decorate a house, especially if the tools are robust enough. Yeah. If the tools are robust enough, you could really do some crazy stuff, which I think would be awesome.
Yeah, no, I think obviously player housing is going to be big.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of neat that they're already kind of laying the groundwork for that, which seems like it, which kind of maybe confirms this theory that there is no season 4. Which, if you like season 4, I guess I'm sorry to everyone else. That's not the one person.
I'm more and more thinking we're not gonna get a season 4. And I know,
there's no way.
And I know the conversation is like, oh, are you happy that they're giving you one less season for the game that you paid for? Listen, man, I paid for content.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so I'm getting the same content I've got the last 2 expansions, if not more content, honestly. I'm just not getting a season where they're rehashing all that same content and making me do it one last time. Right. Like, I don't know, man. If I can get into the next expansion and new dungeons fast and like new raids faster, I want that. I don't know though. I'm not convinced. I'm not 100% convinced 11.2.5 is going to be player housing. Maybe it might be some of the add-on stuff. My gut tells me though, player housing is going to be close to pre-patch. My gut says pre-patch is player housing. Right, they're probably pretty tied together. We might have an extended pre-patch, knowing that player housing is a thing, right?
Oh yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they said, "Hey, look, pre-patch is going to last for a month because player housing is being added, and they want us to go farm old content, right? Because here's the thing: like old content and old stuff is going to offer rewards as well for player housing." And what they don't want, though, is they don't want the new expansion to come out. And as soon as the new expansion comes out, players feel obligated to go farm legacy content, right? So why not give us time to go farm legacy content before the new expansion drops?
That kind of makes sense, actually. Like that honestly makes a lot of sense. Yeah, like it would not surprise me now that you just called that basically season 4 air quotes is going to be like, hey, we're going to do player housing, but we're going to let you kind of go back and get content that you might have wanted.
Yeah.
That way you're not focusing on it when midnight release. That, dude, I'm pretty sure you might have just like predicted the future.
Well, thank you. I try. Also, you know what 11.2.5 probably is?
Yeah.
Remix.
What?
Remix.
Oh. Yeah, I could maybe.
Unless it's
because
0.7.
I feel like. Yeah, because honestly, I feel like if what you just said is true, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the goal is, hey, we're gonna kind of do a longer pre-patch, that way, you guys can have time to kind of get into player housing to kind of see how it works, to kind of get a good feel of it. Maybe do some of that older content, farm that stuff. People that aren't gonna want to do all that stuff or don't really care or might want something to do, so Legion Remix might be that something to do, right?
Also just note, pre-patches are normally the 0.0 patch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So like technically, sorry, I'm thinking pre-patch would technically be 12.0.
Yeah.
So all that just to say though, like I don't think we're gonna see player housing in 11.2.5. We will probably see Remix 11.2.7. Right? So 11.2.5 is probably just gonna be a couple small things. And then we'll probably have, what do you think, like 2 months of Remix maybe?
Yeah, I can see that.
Something like that, maybe. I don't know. I'm throwing random numbers out there. Maybe
You're
3 months.
Trying to predict the future,
maybe
man,
3 months,
and I don't like
Remix.
it.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I normally don't practice witchcraft, but you never know.
Well, you never know. You never
Also,
know.
I see you have it in the notes, and it's something I've known about. I'm kind of annoyed about because I've been so busy. I'm just not caught up myself. But the freaking dinar things, dude. There's no catch up mechanic for missing them.
Hey, you can't make the cake and eat it at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know what the saying
But
is.
I guess it's also supposed to be like, hey man, this is like, well, I guess if they're treating it as, again, I'm probably making a hot take here, but I guess if they're treating it as bad luck protection, then the idea of you not even trying to get the item and still getting the dinar thing or the puzzling cartel chip, I guess that doesn't logically make sense, right? So they really have to say, hey, look, if you're not doing this weekly, if you're not actually trying to get the loot, then maybe you don't need the chip, right? So I don't know. I get it. It makes sense. It's weird, but it makes sense.
It wouldn't surprise me if maybe they throw in like an extra one at the end as like, hey, maybe if you just missed one, like you can get this other piece of loot, because it's like, hey, if you already have the 9 and you got your 3 pieces of loot, you're not going to do like a random, you're not just going to get one chip and then just have it sit in your bag.
My gut tells me you can probably still get the same number of quests total. You just have to take longer to get them.
It's just going to take an extra week. Yeah, right. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
So like if you missed all 6 weeks or something, right? Or 7 weeks, right? You missed all 7 weeks. And then you're logging in. You're not just immediately being handed 3 free pieces of loot, right? You still have still have to make attempts. You still have to do the same thing everybody else did. Okay. So basically saying you can't just skip this part, right? Like you have to do this part. That's fair. That's
kind of what I'm thinking too. I don't know if it's been confirmed. Well, obviously it hasn't been confirmed. Like it can't be confirmed for a couple more weeks, but that's kind of the idea that I'm understanding too. Hey, 2 quick points real quick, and then we'll get on to some listener questions, because we got a ton now that you mentioned that in the Discord, and now everyone's like flooded with questions. Hey, real quick, it looks like we're going to get the Winds of Mysterious Fortune or something similar to that again in 11.1.7, which means, look for that to get your reputation bonus. I think you get 200% for Dragonflight, 100% for War Within, and then you also get some weird like different experience buffs with leveling, and that'll kind of coincide with Turbulent Time Waves, so that's a big one. And as well as the Delves Belt, which I think is huge. This one's really good, because it's something that I really hated about the ring in the last 0.7 patch, that the belt will be Warband bound, if you will. Basically, anytime you get something for the belt, it unlocks for everything above or across your warband, which is huge. I hated like you had to go in and do all the different quests for each alt that you had for the dumb ring to get the different gems that you. It was like, this is ridiculous.
Dude, I hated it, bro. I hated it so much. Listen, it was fun the first time. The first time I was like, oh, this is great. I'm just doing a little farming. I just can't do repetitive farming content. Fun fact, I didn't have a maxed out ring on my main character.
Oh wow.
Because I was playing my Brewmaster monk at the time, right? Because I was like, oh, I'm just memeing. It's late in the season. I've kind of done everything I want to do on my DK. I'm gonna play my Brewmaster. So I get the ring on my Brewmaster. I just could not bring myself to max it out on my Death Knight. And somebody's gonna comment and be like, but Swag, the ring is still bis for you. I don't care. I'm an eye level fiend. I'm an eye level fiend through and through. I love eye level, man. And then you're like, oh, if you love eye level, why didn't you max up the ring? I don't know, dude. I'm flawed. I'm a flawed human.
Too much work.
It was just, and then I had like a partial ring on my shaman. I'm assuming you probably still need to do whatever the intro quest is to like maybe get the belt or do the delve or something. However that works.
I would definitely. Yeah,
but then like from that point forward, you don't have to farm it on every single character.
No, you just kind of get it.
And that does that include the like level ups for like the eye level bumps for it?
It didn't specifically say. It just says It said the powers are now unlocked across players' warbands when obtained. So
okay, so maybe not the eye level. Maybe not the eye level. That's the thing that matters to me the most. Because the
I hope it
powers were
is,
powers
because
were easy to farm. It's the freaking eye level, dude.
yeah, the eye level was worse. Anyways, well, hopefully maybe we'll get some more information about that, and then we'll fill you guys in. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time to get to some listener questions.
Yeah. Before we get to the listener questions, though, I just want to put a quick word out there for those listening to the podcast. If you are looking for a guild, if you're like, man, I love this game, but I want to play this game with people. Swag and Chicken always talk about all the stuff that they do, that they're running dungeons with their friends, doing raids with their guild. If you're looking for a space to learn to raid, to do dungeons, I want to invite you to our guild, Astra. It's a guild that we love. It's a guild that is primarily focused on creating a non-toxic playing experience where you get to connect with players, try out content that you've never done before. I mentioned it earlier on the podcast, but I had 2 brand new, first time, never before done Mythic runners, raiders, Mythic players, Mythic dungeoners with me today, learning dungeons as we walk them through them. Now, it's not all just for beginners. We also have some big pumpers in our guild and a wonderful space to play the game. We love pushing things like AOTC or getting, Mythic Plus achievements. So if you're looking for a space to game with your friends, I just want to encourage you. You can join our guild. There's a link to our Discord, not the guild's Discord. Let me clarify, to my Discord in the description there. But in my Discord, feel free to tag me or just post in there asking if you can get an invite to our guild, and we will happily get you plugged in to Astra, what I think is maybe the best guild on all of World of Warcraft, in my opinion. But with that said, let's get to our listener questions.
Yeah, buddy. Hey, I will read
Okay.
the first one.
Wait. Yeah. You can do the first one. Yeah. I want to read the one from Glocks when we get to Glocks' question, please.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I'll read the first one to you, and I will not comment on it at all because I have no idea.
Oh, gosh. I haven't even looked at it, by the way.
It's from, is it Draga?
Yeah, dude, Draga was just running with us in some dungeons.
Yeah, Draga, good old Draga.
He did great.
He said,
question. He did great.
You did great.
Yeah,
good job, Draga. We're proud of you. Anyways, your question for the podcast. So I wasn't really around for Wrath of the Lich King, but from what I can tell, the story of Arthas is universally loved story in the lore of WoW, with Arthas himself being a favorite character for many players. With Legacy of Arthas, I think I'm saying that right.
Legacy
Arthas,
of Arathor.
Oh, Arathor. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Being released soon. Introducing the lore walking content. I don't really hear anything questioning why the Arthas story is included in the initial 3 lore walking quest change. It seems as if the general consensus is that Arthas is included simply because of his impact on the past story of the game. However, the other 2 quest change focused on Xalatath and the Ethereals, both of which are relevant to the current content. My question is, do you think there is a possibility that Arthas somehow plays a role in the World Soul Saga itself? While I understand that he is supposedly gone forever, it strikes me as interesting that 11.1.7 is highlighting Arthas' story and that the rest of the content is focused on adding additional context to the content or to the current content. Is the inclusion of Arthas just a nod to the past, or could it be something more?
So I think there's a few things. There's a few things worth talking about here. One, I think Legacy of Arathor is being released because they're really leaning into the Arathi as a people group. So for those who don't know, the Arathor nation, the Empire of Arathor, was basically the whole Eastern Kingdoms in many ways. It was huge. Things like Lordaeron, Stormwind, Coltyrus, Gilneas, they were all kind of Alterac, right? They're all kind of within this kingdom of Arathor, this Empire of Arathor. I think they were considered kind of like city-states almost, right? Like Dalaran was a city-state. Alterac was a city-state. Lordaeron, Strom, right? I think they were all city-states. I don't quite totally know exactly, but I believe so. and eventually they all broke off and created their own actual kingdoms. So the Arathi were like the original human like nation before it split apart, and the Arathi people kind of just disappeared. If you ever watch the Warcraft movie, you see, what's his name, Anduin Lothar, who is a descendant of the Arathi people, and he had made his like descendants had made a promise with the elves that he pays off on. But anyways, I'm sidetracking. The Arathi they were gone. They were a nation that was gone until we went down to Hallowfall and we found more Arathi, and we were like, where the heck did these Arathi come from? Turns out a bunch of them had gone overseas and started like a new kingdom or a new Arathi empire, and so there's a whole thing. So I think the legacy of Erethdor is to give us more context into the Arathi empire, why this group left and continued the Arathi Empire in another area. So I think there's a lot of that. I don't think that necessarily has to do with Arthas, though. I think that's just trying to explain where some of the story's going. I think they're trying to set up for new kingdoms, new massive land masses, I hope. Maybe. We'll see. We'll find out. So that could be really cool. As for Arthas himself, though, and being included in the story, there's two things. I think there's two key reasons. One is kind of what I think everybody's saying, is that the story of Arthas and the Lich King is one of the most loved and pinnacle moments in World of Warcraft lore, storytelling, history, etc. And I think they want players to know it. I think there's a lot of players who have come to World of Warcraft since Wrath of the Lich King, and honestly, even in Wrath of the Lich King, a lot of them probably didn't even know what was going on, because the story of Arthas was in Warcraft 3, which was an RTS game, so it didn't even occur in World of Warcraft. And so I think they want people to know. It's such a pinnacle story. I think they just want them to know that this exists because it's referenced a lot. You see a lot. Jaina is still very active in the story, right? So Jaina really comes from the story of Arthas. Now, she has her own story. She has plenty of her own lore, but knowing that part of her is super crucial. However, the second part, and I don't think people are talking about, and I haven't, by the way, this is me saying this having not looked at any of the time the lore walking, I almost said time walking, the lore walking quest chains yet. I'm kind of waiting to do them myself. I don't want to be spoiled, so I haven't done them yet. So they might not reference this at all. My assumption, but even if they don't reference it directly, I think it'll be important. I think it'll still be important. But my assumption is this actually has to do with Midnight, with the next expansion around the corner. I don't think Arthas is coming back. I think Blizzard during Shadowlands, intentionally shut the door hard on an Arthas return. Like, if they wanted to poke Arthas's head up, the time to do it would have been Shadowlands. The time to do it would have been in Shadowlands, and they didn't. I'm actually almost kind of annoyed that they didn't. I think they really wanted to keep that door shut, to say, hey, look, this was something we closed. We're not bringing back. This isn't Illidan. Like, that chapter's over. It's stamped. It's done. And I think they're afraid that if they bring him back, it makes that story less beautiful. Illidan was a hard thing because they actually kind of ruined Illidan's story a little bit in Burning Crusade. So bringing him back in Legion kind of redeemed him. I don't think Wrath ruined the Lich King story. I think Wrath perfectly concluded the Lich King story. But it is important to know that Midnight is going to have a very high elf focus, most likely. There's going to be a high focus of the Void coming into Azeroth somehow. And there's speculation that it's going to happen through the Sunwell. So for those who don't know, who are listening in, who are very confused right now, originally, when the Titans tried to take the old gods, the Void Beasts, out of the planet, they ripped one out, and it left a wound in Azeroth. And that wound kind of filled with Azeroth's like mana and energy, and it formed a lake. And so this was known as the Well of Eternity, and a bunch of trolls actually gathered around this Well of Eternity, and ended up becoming Night Elves. They transformed into Night Elves over time. And then a bunch of stuff happened. The planet blew apart, or the continent really blew apart. And this Well of Eternity, this super rich magic source, by the way. The Well of Eternity was like a super rich arcane magic source. It's how the Night Elves became Night Elves. It's how the Nightborn got super into magic. The Night Elves were super into magic. When the Well of Eternity was blown apart and the world was sundered, there's the Maelstrom in the middle where it used to be. And a bunch of Blood Elves, or I guess at the time they're called High Elves, they left. and they kind of formed their own land, but they took a couple vials of that well with them, right? So some of that water was in vials, and they poured that water into their own little, they call it the sun well. So they, not the big well of eternity, but they had a little well they called the well of eternity that they poured these vials into to mix it with some water. It wasn't quite as rich as the well of eternity, but it was a very, very potent magic source, and it was also in line with the ley lines of Azeroth, so it picked up extra magic just from its location as well. However, many years later, when Arthas is becoming the Lich King, he needs to revive a guy named Kel'Thuzad, right? So Kel'Thuzad was a lich, doing tons of necromantic stuff, and he was defeated. He was killed. I don't know if he was actually a lich at the time. He might have just been a necromancer. Anyways, but Kel'Thuzad, famous necromancer, crazy powerful guy, he's killed. Arthas needs to revive him for the Lich King. And so Arthas goes on a march, and I promise this is going somewhere. Arthas goes on a march to the capital city of the High Elves, storms through their city, continues onward to the Sunwell, and throws Kel'Thuzad's remains into the Sunwell and revives him as a lich. And in doing so, he corrupts the Sunwell, right? So the Sunwell is corrupted. Then during the Burning Crusade expansion, we uncorrupt the Sunwell by putting a Naru into the Sunwell. Okay, so now there's a Naru living in the Sunwell. However, it's important to know with Naru that they have a light side and they have a void side. Naru can become very, very void driven. And so they kind of go back and forth depending upon certain criteria like their health. Anyways, fast forward some more. Eventually, Illyria, the elf that we've been following around, not the void elf with the feet, but the void elf that's trying to shoot arrows at the void elf with the feet. That's a joke about Xal'atath. Illyria visits the Sunwell. Because Illyria is full of void, for whatever reason, the Sunwell responded to Illyria and started to open up almost like void portals, and crazy stuff started happening, and she actually had to be rushed out of there, and she's banned. That's actually why the void elves joined the alliance, because the blood elves were like, yo dog, we can't have you guys around here. we don't want this. This is too risky. No thank you. Now, I don't know if that was actually exactly when that happened, but roughly because of that. I think there's a good shot. I think there's a very good shot that Midnight is going to try. I think Xal'atath is going to try and use the Sunwell to summon the Void into Azeroth, or summon more Void beasts into Azeroth, or gain power of some kind and use the Sunwell in that regard. Kind of like in Burning Crusade, where they tried to use the Sunwell to summon Kill Jaden. I think we might see them try to use the Sunwell now to summon some sort of void entity, or just void in general. And if that happens, I think it's important for players to know why this Sunwell is powerful, what's going on, why the scar exists, why the city of Silvermoon is in ruins, why it's kind of ran through looking. I think there's a lot of information that's important for players to know that makes that area and that zone feel relatable. And so I think there's just so much. There's so much in World of Warcraft that ties off of Arthas' story, that in order to really enjoy the story of World of Warcraft, you have to know Arthas. You just have to. You can't appreciate Sylvanas without knowing Arthas. You can't appreciate Jaina without knowing Arthas, right? All of these characters revolve around Arthas. You can't appreciate playing an undead unless you know Arthas. All of these characters just really link back to him. And so, especially as we're going back north towards Silvermoon, and Silvermoon's not far from Plaguelands as well, which is heavily Arthas influenced. So, all that to say, I think we might see some stuff in Midnight that, while though not Wrath focused or not Lich King focused or Arthas focused, has stuff that ties off of his story and the things that he did. Chicken, you still there?
Oh, whoa. Sorry, I fell asleep there for a second.
No,
Sorry.
You're all good. But that was our lore section.
Oh,
I hope I did okay, man. I hope I explained it well.
I tried to hang in there, but I almost nodded off.
Yeah.
Anyways, hey, Do you want to bump down to Glox's question real quick, and then we can roll back?
Sure. We'll do Glox's question, and then we'll go to Rollis's question. I want to read Glox myself because Glox just asked like 12 questions and try to hide it as one question. So we're gonna speed run this. Is the Pirate Dragon mount worth the time walking grind? Yes. What about the sword? Are you talking about the sword in Azeroth that they hyped up for this expansion and then haven't done anything with? I think we're gonna see more. I feel like they referenced it and then we haven't done anything with it. Maybe we'll see it next patch. I don't know. New race. Question mark. Underground root trolls next patch or next X pack. So I think we're definitely seeing new races. I would actually say I'm gonna take a gamble here and say we're probably gonna see 2, maybe 3 more races come out. Interesting. Possibly before the launch of the next expansion.
Oh.
That's a shot. I know that sounds wild. Chicken's like, what the heck is Swag talking about? Remember, the Earthen were not marketed as a new race. The Earthen were marketed as an allied race, which is a very important distinction to make. The Drakthir were a new race. Blizzard referred to them as a new race. They called them a new race. The Earthen are not a new race. The Earthen are an allied race, which means 2 things. One, it means that they use the skeleton and resources of a previously existing race. In this case, they use dwarven skeletons. Now you might be like, well, what about the Kultiran? The Kultiran use dwarf skeletons as well. The Zandalari trolls use a mix of troll skeleton for the females and night elf skeletons for the males. So all that to say though, all the allied races use sources from other existing stuff in the game, including the Earthen. The second thing to keep in mind about allied races is that the last time we got allied races, I believe, if I recall correctly, they launched with 2 allied races, right? We got Void Elves and Nightborn. No, Void Elves and Lightforged, I think. Lightforged Dragonite. No. I don't remember what we got right off the bat. Yeah, we got something.
I think you're right.
No, because both of those are Alliance. I don't remember. I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't remember.
All that to say, we got 2 races right away, right? So and then they continued to like stack on top of that, and they continued to add more. And so we actually ended up with all like 5, I think, allied races on each side, so 10 total or something, within one expansion, which is crazy, which is actually like absolutely kind of bonkers. I think they like pre-patched 2 of them and then like slowly drip fed them after that during the expansion. I would be shocked, actually. I don't think I want to say shocked. I would actually be very disappointed if Earthen was all we ended up with. It just wouldn't make sense. It would be really lame. It would actually be like, Blizzard, that's it. That was actually like a big feature of the expansion was you gave us dwarves with a different skin color on them. Like, that's it? Bro, what are you doing, Blizz? What are you doing? I really do think the Haranir, I think as they're called, I know they changed the name at one point in WoW. Haranir, however you pronounce it. I think we're getting them by the end of this expansion, for sure. We're absolutely going to get them by the end of this expansion. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw playable Kultirans somehow. But they're not much, because the problem is the Kultirans have elf ears, but I think they've already given humans the elf ear option if they want it, like the little pointy ear. So I don't know if there's really anything that the Kultirans actually offer that makes them unique in any conceivable way, other than that maybe Horde would have the opportunity to play a human, but that kind of feels weird, to be honest. I actually would say Horde should never have a human race, and maybe Alliance should never have an orc race. Everything else is kind of fair game, but those 2 feel off limits to me.
Yeah.
But all that to say, that's what I think we'll see more races. I just don't also know exactly what races we'll see, because the Haranir, though, are definitely designed. They're designed in game right now that they would absolutely work as a playable race. Why will they be the thickest race in WoW? I would say Tauren are probably still the thickest race in WoW. Why will Blood DK be meta next season? It won't. It'll be, I'm calling it now, meta is going to be Vengeance Demon Hunter. And you're probably like, Swag, how do you know? Just lucky guess, I guess. If WoW becomes easier, but add-ons become limited, would it actually be an issue? I remember tracking CDs didn't get really popular till mid Dragonflight and M+. No, actually, it wouldn't be an issue. I think the goal ultimately is that they want to make WoW a game that's enjoyable and still the same level of complicated for you that you have right now playing with a bunch of add-ons, right? So I think the idea is that like the game shouldn't require you to have to go download a bunch of stuff just to play it at base level, right? And so I actually ultimately think this is a great thing. I think the add-on shift is going to be, if done well, is one of the best moves Blizzard can make. But we might have a really terrible season in order to get to that point. But that's everything I have to say for Glox's questions. I tried to speedrun them.
I think you did pretty good, man.
Thank you.
For the most part.
I did rant on the playable races thing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I it's weird. I hope we do see a couple more, races. Either this expansion or next one, but I don't know. It's one of those like wish list things. It's like, I mean, to me, it's like, excuse me, sorry. What does a new race mean to me? It doesn't really mean that much. I'm not gonna re-roll a character, and I'm most likely not gonna start a new character just because there's a new race. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really mean too much to me, but it'd be kind of cool, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyways.
What if we got mecha gnomes, but the other type of mecha gnome?
What do you mean?
So before the current mecha gnomes, there was another type of mecha gnome that we ran into in Northrend, which was like literally just a straight up little robot baby looking thing. It just looked like a normal gnome, but made out of the robot.
Oh, I mean,
a lot
smoother. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
I'm not actually looking for this. I just know you like gnomes.
Yeah, I still wouldn't pay for a
Vrykul would be cool. I think they're just hard to pull off because they're so tall.
Yeah.
And I think they tried. I think originally they tried to shrink the Vrykul down to see if they could just make it smaller Vrykul, and they found it just lost the appeal when they did that. From what I understand, I don't think it was done well. But I think Cold Tyrants were supposed to be their attempt at trying to make that big feel without actually being too tall. Because they were trying to do like a Vrykul-y thing. And so they're like, well, if we go wider rather than taller, maybe it will work.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. All right, another question. Yeah?
Yeah, let's move on to Rola's question.
I'll read it. I'll let you answer it, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking about gearing for a second spec for my main paladin. I play tank normally. The only thing that is holding me back is the poor gear set managing in WoW. Of course, you can make sets in the equipment manager, but the gear still needs to be in your bag. Downside to this is that your bag can get full, and you can sell BIS items by accident. They said they've done this twice, by the way. Do you guys agree that there should be a user-friendly plugin for managing gear sets? How do you imagine this should be working? I would say that you can make a set and then let this set be in one bag slot as an item, and then you can, and when you try to sell this on accident, you get a warning or something. If there's already a great solution for this, I would love to hear that because I can't seem to find it.
I don't know if that necessarily exists because X in the Discord, shout out X, kind of answered it sort of, but didn't necessarily give you the answer that you're probably looking for. This might exist.
What did X say?
He just said there's bags that you can, there's like add-ons that you can filter things by certain things, but you can't necessarily like group them as like, hey, I want to group this. I mean, I think it's kind of a cool thing.
Right. Like,
I mean,
yeah, keep talking. Sorry, I had an idea, but let me wait till you're done.
I'm kind of surprised that it doesn't already exist in base WoW, that like you can kind of group things as like a set of armor and not necessarily. I mean, I think when I consider a set of armor, thinking everything outside of neck, ring, trinkets, and maybe weapon. But yeah, I'm a little surprised that you can't already do this. To me, I think your best bet is kind of just, hey, just keep an eye on things. typically, in my bag, I only keep armor that I'm going to use. I don't just like keep random armor. Like if I get a piece of armor and I know I'm not going to use it, I just sell it automatically. That way I know, like, hey, if armor's in my bag, it's most likely for like what you do, because I do the same thing. I play Unholy and Blood, so I definitely have different trinkets for both, and different. I think I have like 2 pieces of armor that are different, maybe only one actually at this point. But yeah, just kind of making that. Do you use the set
manager for that at all, or no?
No, I just know that, like, hey, if I have if I have armor in my bag, it's because of this point. And,
that makes sense.
To me, it's not right now. It's not a big deal because Unholy and Blood uses basically the same trinkets outside of one, and stat priority isn't like a huge thing between Blood and Unholy, minus like 1 ring that I think I swap out. Yeah, I have a different ring.
That makes total sense. Now, I don't really multi-spec too much on classes. Usually, if I play something, I'm just playing 1 spec on it.
Yeah.
However, if I was to come up with an idea, I think the easiest way probably to do this would be to make a weak aura. And how the weak aura would work is when you set up stuff in the equipment manager. So you say, hey, this is my preset for my prot paladin build, and this is my preset for my ret paladin. That the weak aura would mark all those items in your bag with like either like a little circle in the corner of them, or just like actually outline them with like red or something, right? And then when you look at the bag, you're like, oh, hey, all this stuff outlined in red, I don't sell.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good idea.
That would probably be the easiest way. Like if I was trying to come up with like a system to do that, right? Just like, because that way then they can read the data, if it can. I don't know if that's even possible. We could read the data off your equipment manager, so then it knows what pieces are there, and you're not having to then like manually plug those pieces into something else. It just goes, oh, yep, these pieces are used for this gear set. Maybe there's a way if somebody wanted to really just make an add-on from the ground up, like if like, hey, we're gonna do an add-on all together. Then maybe what you could do, and not a weak aura, then what you could do is have the add-on actually alter the UI a little bit. So when you're in the equipment manager, you can actually pick what color you want to highlight that set with even.
No, I think that's actually a really good idea.
So, yeah, that's all.
To me, it's just not enough to... I'm like, I just know if I need it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Makes sense. Any more questions for the podcast? I think we have 2 more questions.
We have one last one.
We did get the roll. We did get Rollis's. Yeah, that's right. That was just the question.
Johnny Tips.
Good old Johnny Tips.
Do you think they should ever do a SOD-like 4th season with the specs, and we get specs we normally don't have, but temporarily get runes like Mage Healer, Warlock Tank, but only for a short Plunderstorm, or short event Plunderstorm, or a short event like Plunderstorm? I'm assuming he's meaning like in retail. He's saying retail, hey, would it be cool if we ever do this kind of deal?
For like season 4 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give my 2 cents real quick, and then you can probably answer a lot more long-winded. That's kind of how it goes. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, because I feel like people would just be like, well, if you're putting the work into making them into retail, why can't we just have them all the time?
Yeah, they would want it all the time.
Yeah,
which is dangerous for Blizzard to go down, because that means. And by the way, because then you're like, well, why can't they just do it? Well, because that becomes. Let's say they do one new thing for every class, right? Because everybody's going to be like, well, what about me? What about my class?
Yeah.
So they do the one new thing for every class. That's like what, like 12 new specs now? All of a sudden, I don't know how many classes there are, right? But that's like 12 new specs existing that now have to be balanced, right? So now you're up to like 48 specs that exist in the game that all have to be like perfectly balanced. It becomes crazy. So. I don't think... Here's my answer to your question. You said, do you think they should ever do it? I think for that reason, I think it's risky to do it. I don't think it's smart for them to do it. I really don't think it's smart for them to do it. if I was just being selfish and just like, I want whatever I want, yeah, I think they should do it. I think it'd be fun. I think I would genuinely have fun, right? Like, I would have fun if that existed. I don't think it ever will existed for the reason Chicken brought up. And also, secondarily, and this is important to keep in mind, Classic WoW is wildly simple compared to Retail WoW.
That's true.
Wildly simple. I think the amount of effort it takes to... Listen, dude, in Classic WoW, you could tank. Listen, I know they were like, oh, hey, look, we have Shaman tanks in Season Discovery. Dude, Shamans could already tank.
Yeah.
Were they great at it? That's debatable. That's debatable. I thought I was a good Shaman tank back then, though. It's debatable, but they could do it. They literally could just do it if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And so I think Classic is such a different game where there's a lot... The lines are blurred. The lines are blurred in Classic. I remember having a friend who played Holy Paladin, and they played Holy, but they were like partially spec'd into Prot. So I don't know if you know this, in Classic Chicken, you have access to all 3 talent trees. So there's no class talent tree. There's just the spec talent trees. And so you have access to all of them at all the time. And so you can literally just drop your points wherever you want, however you want. And so I would literally know people who would like play Holy Paladin, but then be kind of like partially spec'd into Prot. So if one of the tanks died during raid, they would just jump in.
Oh, that's right.
Start off tanking. Right, they could just start off tanking like right away. Even like Druid, right, dude? Like Druid was weird in a sense where your spec, like your actual role changed in one talent tree. Like Feral and Guardian were the same thing. They're both just called Feral Druid. There's no Guardian Druid. They're just both Feral Druid. And you kind of chose if you're more tanky or more DPS-y based on what talents you took. Which was cool, by the way. Great concept. Did it work long term?
Yeah,
apparently not, but cool concept. However, it does mean it does imply and lead me to believe that those classes are built a lot more simplistically. I'm not saying they're simple, but just more simplistically than current retail classes are built. And I think it would take a whole lot more to like turn a class into like a compelling healer to play, right? It can't just be like, hey, you now have 2 healing spells, right? It's got to be like, hey, we need to design an entire way of playing a healer that feels compelling and feels balanced in M+ content, in raid content. I actually think the undertaking that would actually be kind of bonkers. And then, of course, as soon as the season's over, it's gone, right? At that point, then why not just leave it? Why not just keep it? Why not just give them that 4th spec, right? So, to your question, do I think they should? I think it would be so much fun. I just don't think they ever will.
Oh, no, I don't think they ever will either.
But I like the idea, though. The idea feels fun. Like, I like the idea of it.
It's a neat concept.
Because, again, it would be fun. Like, it would actually be really fun. I just think it's a ridiculous amount of work for something that would be really short term. And who knows if people would even like it, right? Like, they run the risk of everybody just being like, these specs suck, or, oh, these are so overpowered, all they want us to do. Because they'd have to be overpowered, by the way. For us to like it, those specs would have to be the best ones. They'd have to.
Yeah, they do.
Because otherwise we'd be like, oh, yeah, they exist, but they're just kind of weird. No. If they want us to like it, they have to make them goated. And then when they're gone the next season, then that's a problem. But
that's true.
With that said, that is everything for the podcast today. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you want more podcast content, please follow us here on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or whatever platform you are using to listen to podcasts on. And we'll also be recording extra content that will be going live later on our Patreon this week so that you can actually listen to more of the Warband if you are ever interested in it. But people, thank you for listening. I don't know what I'm saying. It's getting real late here. My brain's barely working. So
I understand.
We'll see you next week for our episode 40, and we'll have a great guest on that episode. Just got to figure that out. It's gonna be a good one though, I promise. We have. Okay, let me clarify.
This is bold honesty here.
Yeah. Okay, let me clarify. We actually have options. It's just I don't know which one we're going with, but we have some cool guests lined up. Just gotta figure out who we're grabbing for next week. So, but everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with our Warband.
Yeah, buddy.
Yo, I like that. We could end that way. Hanging out with our Warband.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Are we still recording?
Sitting with our Warband. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm gonna hit the stop recording button.